This is also kind of interesting. This is Kev put this out. This is EPA through the first 40 games. Let me show you this real quick. This is kind of cool. This is Kev tweeted this out. This is the graphic right here. Now it's this is EPA per play, quarterback EPA through the first 40 games. And like all these graphs, you want to be in the top right corner. And who's in the top right corner? Patrick Mahomes. But who is alone in second? It's Brock Purdy. And basically it's EPA per play on the bottom, games with an EPA under zero, less than zero, is this one. So Tom Brady, believe it or not, is way, way down here. But still, nonetheless, which always makes you skeptical of anything where you see Brady's way down there. But Mahomes and Purdy, as far as EPA through the first 40 games, pretty good. Pretty good. Right there.
Pretty good. But you know, there's more than 40 games to a career. But good start. He's had a great start to his career, Larry. He's had a fantastic start to his career. I agree.
I'm asking Kev where the Papa video. You think it's on Coach Yak?
Probably.
Okay, let me check. I'll stop sharing there, and then we'll go over to Coach Yak and see if we can. Wait a second. There we go. We'll go over to Coach Yak's thing here and see if that's indeed where it came from. But Greg popped on with Sacktown Sports, and here it is. He's concerned about Brock's struggles in bad weather. Let's play this, and then we'll comment on this before we play our supers and get out of here. Here is Greg Papa on Sacktown Sports, talking about Brock Purdy. And it looks like this is their morning.
I love
show.
Brock. I was on him before anybody else.
No, that I don't want to hear. But here we go. This is Jason on the left, and Dave, Carmichael Dave on the right, and Dave over here on the left. Here we go.
Greg, is there any part of this season in your mind of Brock Purdy's season that would give John Lynch any reason for hesitation on going forward with him?
Yeah, that's the tricky one. I love Brock. I was on him before anybody else when I saw him in training camp and OTAs that rookie year. He's one guy on the team that just goes through his progressions, boom, 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 and plays quarterback the way it's supposed to be played. But he's small and small hands, and then he got into games because of injury to Trey and Jimmy, and he balled out. We know the story. But there are moments where the weather's an issue. It's an issue. You're not going to play in dome stadiums in 80-degree California every week. You're going to have to go to Buffalo, and even your own home stadium. It rains here, as we know. In December and January, it never stops. And the game he had in Cleveland last year on the shores of Lake Drury, ball coming out of his hand. He could not control the football. The home game against Green Bay, the divisional playoff last year, he put a glove on his left hand. It was raining, misting, and took it off after one series, didn't like it, could not control the ball. Figured it out at the very end. Went 6 out of 7 on the last drive to win the game. And the one miss was a drop by George Kittle. But then, you go to Buffalo in a snowstorm, and on the pullback, the ball slips out of his hands. Last night, trying to hit Kittle down the left sideline. It was tight coverage. I don't know how he got it so far down the field, Jace, but the ball just literally squirted out of his hands. And I didn't see obvious situations where he couldn't control it, but he missed throws. The one to Ricky right before they were going to try the Hail Mary on the outcut, and Ricky was hobbling, Ricky Pearsall, and looked like he went off with a knee after that. I don't know if he was slow getting to where he's supposed to be, but you got to hit that throw. He's a wide open pocket, U-shaped pocket, wide open. You got to hit it. And he missed him. And then he underthrew Ricky on the post route. The deep one that he got behind Keller Witherspoon could have been a touchdown. Obviously, the one to Darius Williams where, he threw it in over Jennings. And there was one to Debo over the middle last night. And the lack of size, sometimes you think when he's sitting in the midline, they call it the well, right in the pocket. Can he see over all these big guys? These guys are huge in there. And Brock is 6 feet 5/8 of an inch tall. And a couple of times before he got sacked, he literally jumped up off the ground like he was trying to see. I think he tried one pass when he jumped, like a jump shot, because I think he couldn't see where to go with the ball. He can't see from the midline. So Yeah, I don't. He's gonna be the quarterback here, but I think you got to be creative how to move him, how to get him out of the pocket, how to sprint him, how to roll with him. If he is undersized and he has a hard time seeing, you got to give him a sight line. You got to move him. Drew Brees would get up on his tippy toes and make throws, but Drew was so talented for so long. Honestly, if he was 6'4", 6'5", Drew Brees, and what was he, 6 feet flat? How many Super Bowls would that guy have won with Sean Payton in that offense and those receivers? He just in critical moments and big plays, the lack of height really came into being. And then what he did with the hand size. How does he wear gloves? Does he learn to play with gloves for the tack? Tom Brady played with gloves. Peyton Manning played with gloves even indoors. He learned to play with gloves at all time. He's got to figure out a way to see better, and even in all kinds of weather, being able to just grip the football, which will allow him to grip it and rip it with confidence.
So there you go. And it's interesting, Greg is, on one hand, he's saying, hey, look, this is going to be their quarterback. This is going to be their guy. He's not going anywhere, but then he's the voice of the team, and he's got lots of issues with Brock when it comes to throwing the football and wet football and this and that. Does he play with a glove? He hasn't. At times he suggested that he maybe would or should. What do you think of that? I mean, it's an interesting soundbite. It's Greg kind of stream of consciousness talking about, Brock's going to be here, and he kind of maintains that, but he also kind of maintains that there are issues with his play based on the games he's played this year. How do you make sense of all that?
Yeah, no, and I think he has valid concerns, and I think that's why a lot of fans are rightfully, a little stressed out that, yeah, we're paying this guy a lot of money, but he has, the example is, and they brought it up when Baldy was talking today, since Baltimore, right? He's kind of struggled. That was the game that put it in, magnifying glass. Whoa, he threw all the picks. He didn't look good. He bounced back a little bit, but
he looked good against Detroit in the second half.
Yeah, he did. But I mean, ever since then, it's the magnifying glass has gotten bigger, and people have really kind of started looking at him because contract season, right? Rightfully so. So his mistakes are bigger, and when he makes a mistake, it gets looked at even more and more. He's had great moments, but I think he's right. The moments he's had struggles, weather games, and maybe he does need a glove. So those are concerns. If you're going to pay a guy this much money, you have to look at everything. And anytime you make a big decision in life, the way I do it is, you got to make your pros, you got to make your cons. And I think the Niners, they got to make the pros and the cons. And why should he get paid? Okay, the NFC championships. Okay, Super Bowl. Okay, he was almost MVP. Okay, he set franchise records, right? Those are good reasons to pay him. And then you have to look at any time you make a big decision in life, buying a car, buying a house, you look at the pros and the cons. If you don't, you're just living life on the edge. And that's not a lot of people, especially in the NFL and the business like this. You have to look at both sides. So I think Greg Papa's looking at both sides. And I think he's right, is the Niners are going to bring him back because logically, we talked about this tonight, there's not a lot of options. You're not going to trade for a quarterback. You're not going to get Kirk Cousins. You're not getting Russell Wilson. You're not getting Sam Darnold. Joe Burrow's not coming to your team. So the option, the most safe option is getting Brock. So again, having to pay him, they're going to go into negotiations. We talked about it earlier. If you're talking to the agent, you're going to bring up these, if you're John Lynch or whoever's Parag Marat, you're going to say, hey, he struggles in weather. Look at his stats here. Look at this. Ever since Denver or ever since Baltimore, these are his stats. Those are logical things that are going to be brought up, and Greg Papa's bringing it up. So, yeah, is he concerned? Yeah. Should he be concerned? Absolutely, because these are realistic things that can happen in any season, and it's just things you have to look at. And not only that is, yeah, okay, Brock's a great guy. We love him, this and that. But there are realistic struggles, and everybody has flaws, and those are Brock's flaws, and you have to bring them to the table. And I think the last point I'll make is one of the reasons I think Niner fans are so scared about paying him is look at the history of paying guys the big money. After they get paid, they're not the same. Debo, Brandon Ayuk, Nick Bosa to an extent. Fred Warner, when he first got paid, he wasn't the same. And now he's back and better than ever. But, certain times you pay a guy, and you're just not the same, So I think there's some PTSD out there, and I think it's granted.
It's a tough call. It's a tough call either way because there's no easy answers, and it's not like it's real cut and dried. It's not a cut and dried situation. If it was me, my first choice, I'd bring Brock back. I would bring him back. I would have Tanner Mordecai in that room. And then I want one veteran, but a better veteran than Josh Dobbs and a better veteran than Brandon Allen.
Okay.
But cheap. And then I want a rookie. And I would probably, the three guys I have my eye on in this draft are Riley Leonard, Notre Dame, Haynes King, Georgia Tech, Tyler Van Dyke, who started at Miami, now is at Wisconsin. Those guys are all going to be day 3 quarterbacks, and I'd be interested in all three. We'll see who stands up. But that would be my ideal quarterback room. Brock, Mordecai, let's say Andy Dalton, and we'll say one of those 3 guys.
Andy Dalton, I like that. That's a good backup.
Andy Dalton, who's 37, but I think he's a better quarterback than Brandon Allen. I think he's a more substantial body than Allen. And I think you can win some games with Andy Dalton, where I don't think you can win games with Dobbs or with Brandon Allen. I like them, but I don't think you can win with them. So that's my room next year. Who's in your quarterback room next year?
I didn't give much thought to Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket. I like the Red Rock. I like Andy Dalton, but you could probably get him for cheap. I know they're going to get a veteran. I like Tanner Mordecai. Maybe you see what you have on him. He could be QB3. I think I don't see him as QB2 right now. I think you need to get a good veteran, because if you're going to pay Brock all this money and you get an O-line, and if hopefully he doesn't, but if he got hurt, you need to have a really good, decent backup. So that's the question. I don't think you can draft one that, you can throw in right away. So it's going to have to be one of these outlier quarterbacks that you had mentioned, and I honestly think, and people are going to hate this one, I think it's Danny Dimes. I think Daniel Jones will be a good backup QB2. And we saw what Kyle Shanahan did with Sam Darnold a couple years ago. He was a serviceable backup, and if push came to shove, he was thrown into the fire. And I think that's what Danny Dimes is going to do. He's going to go to the Niners and be the reclamation.
Is your one, Daniel Jones is your 2, Mordecai is your 3? Is that what you're going with?
I think so.
That's not bad.